In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always. Welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth. Of course, I am the host or the gatekeeper of this internet ministry. On YouTube, I am known as the mighty Angel Snub Nuff 7, your brother, and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I hope you enjoy the video that follows this introduction. Again, peace forever and always, and respect you.
Peace, everybody. This is Queen Ifama, and just want to start this day off. Hope you're having a good day, because I am definitely having a great day. Because, you know what I realized? Hey, Arbella.
Hi.
Thank you for the mail. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I do, darling. You know I love the mail. Just love the mail. Yeah. Don't get none but the newspapers up in here. But anyway, this is something I realized. You know, I have this couch in my house. Take the gum out. Every time I talk to y'all, I'm chewing gum. But anyway, I have this couch in my house. And I want it out. Okay? I'm going to get it out too. Because I asked the universe to help me remove that couch out of my house. I don't want that couch in my house anymore. So I asked the universe to assist me in getting that couch out of my house, because I don't want it in my house. And the reason is because I just don't want a couch anymore. And what I want to do is put 2 lazy boys in its place. That's what I want. Because I don't have a lot of visitors, so I don't need nothing but a lazy boy, 2 lazy boys. I have this vision of 2 leather lazy boys that vibrate with heat in the seat. That's what I want to do. That's what I want. So, what I do know is that the void that I'm going to create, that the universe is going to help me create, which is the removal of that couch, is that the universe will give me my desire, because the universe abhors void, or rather a vacuum. The universe abhors vacuum. So if I create the vacuum, which is removing the couch, the universe will supply my desire, my wish, which is 2 lazy boys. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm looking for somebody to come haul my couch out of my house, because I don't want it. I'm not trying to sell it. I just want it out of there. So I'm looking for someone to haul that couch up out of my house so I can create the vacuum, so that the universe will then fulfill my desire, which is to have 2 leather lazy boys that vibrate with, the massage types, with heat in the seat. I want something that give me some heat in the seat so I can cut down on my heating bill. It might go up on my electric bill, but it'll definitely go down on my heating bill. So that's what I'm asking the universe for. And guess what? It's going to happen. I'm so excited. Isn't it exciting to know that you can have your every desire within reason? Within reason, because that's not unreasonable. That is perfectly reasonable. So I am so excited that it's going to manifest. And it's going to manifest soon, because that is my desire. So anyway, I guess I'll be back. I might be back later on. Who knows? During my lunch hour, I'll probably get back with y'all and tell y'all what else is going on today. But it's a beautiful day, even though it's cloudy and it's a little gray outside. But my whole body is smiling. Man, I'm telling you, it's a wonderful thing. And even though I have some turmoil, oh God, do I have some turmoil. But it'll all resolve itself. That I do know. Put that foot forward. That's what I'm doing. Okay, be back later, y'all. Bye. Hey, everybody. Remember I told you that the universe gives you what you ask for? Well, remember I said that I wanted that couch out of my house. I didn't know how I was going to get it out, but I knew that the universe would help me create the vacuum so that the universe can fill the vacuum, because the universe abhors vacuum. So anyway, I went to the bank, and I don't go to the bank often, but I had to go today, not to this particular bank. So anyway, I go to the bank, and I go in, I do my transaction. They have a bulletin board out in the hall of the bank. I never really paid any attention to it. I put my business cards up there a couple of times, but when I don't get no hits, I don't keep putting stuff someplace. So I was leaving out, and something just drew me to look over at that bulletin board. Because generally, whenever I go there, I'm in and out. And so something drew me to look at that bulletin board, and look what I found. Tyrone Hauling Service. And I called Tyrone. I gave Tyrone a call. And Tyrone told me that he'll come to my house on Saturday and remove that couch for $25. See? What you asked for, the universe will provide for you. If you strive for truth in your life and to be just a decent human being as best you can in your life, the universe provides for you. It gives you your heart's desire within reason. I always have to say that, within reason, because sometimes we can be so unreasonable with the things that we desire. But anyway, I got that, and guess what else I got? Guess what else Tyrone does? Tyrone does your lawn. So I called Tyrone. Well, I got two options with the lawn thing. One is Tyrone, and one is my friend Joe. Joe, who got my little puppy Chico. Well, Chico's not a puppy anymore, he's 7, but Joe adopted my dog Chico when I moved out of my house. So I gave Chico to Joe. So sometimes Joe's available. So now I got two alternatives to come and mow my lawn. Because remember, at first that was an expectation that I had of the person that I called my man. But since I don't have one of them per se anymore, I have alternatives. I can call Tyrone, I can call Joe, I can have my friend do it if he's available, and it'll get done, and I won't have to do it. And that's the bottom line, is that I don't be pushing that lawnmower. I don't want to push the lawnmower. So, I'm willing to pay for it. I don't want anyone to do anything for me for nothing. Who's not. All right. That was my supervisor coming in. But anyway, yeah, you put out what you get back. That's what understanding the universe is all about. Extremely grateful. Extremely grateful. Grateful with the knowledge and understanding of how it works. Alright, bye. Oh yeah, something else? I remember hearing Oprah say that she's never had any professional therapy, but that her shows, the shows that she does, have been therapeutic for her, because she has all those psychiatrists and all those other types of people, and people who come on with their own stories. And so I could kind of say that that's the same way it is for me. Me and Oprah was born in the same month, January. Her birthday January, I think 31st, and mine's January 26th. But anyway, she's Aquarius. But anyway, I think that doing YouTube and doing Blog Talk and any other of these mediums that I go public on, they're like therapy for me, and I learn from everybody who comments on my page, whether they're negative or positive comments. It helps me evaluate my own self, whether, damn, I don't want to be like that, or damn, I like her or his advice or his commentary, and this is the person I would like to, align myself with, or, be in that positive note, on a positive note with. So, You know, you're very therapeutic for me. You help me a lot. And, you know, I think for me, it's regardless of whether people look at my vids or not, it's therapeutic for me to do them. Just like it's therapeutic for me to do my blog talk radio shows. I'm not so much interested in people listening and coming and stuff, because I think that's going to come regardless with billions of people in the world. Somebody go hear it. So that's not a goal to just get a whole lot of listeners unless I was trying to make money or something. So that's not it. I think it's a form of therapy. No, I know it's a form of therapy for me. And it's been working. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you all so much, Asante Sana, to each and every one of you, that you've helped me, whether negatively, you know, commentary was negative or our interactions was negative or positive. I have learned something from it. I have learned something about myself from it. And I think that it's assisting me to be a better person, a more well-rounded person, because I'm trying to address my prejudices, you know, because I have them. And to, you know, in my opinions, because I'm a very opinionated person, but I don't use my opinions to stereotype and formulate judgments, just to always be open for more information and the truth, basically. Because, you know, sometimes our opinions aren't based on truth, they're just our opinion, but you have to search for the truth so that your opinion is concrete, you know, that you know what the hell you're talking about, okay? But just to thank you, I just want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you as I thought about what Oprah said after the last little shot I had did. So thanks a lot, and I hope to hear from you. Do some comments if you wish. You don't have to if you don't want to. Talk to you later. Peace, everybody.
Well, everybody, I finally made it back to the hut, safe and sound from a hard day's work. Pretty rewarding day, I must say. I mean, it was very, very hectic, but it was very rewarding for me. And I just want to share these last thoughts with you. As I've stated through the video, the universe abhors vacuum. So the fact is that as human beings, our lives are full. We're 100. But it's what you put in the fractions of that 100 that determines your quality of life. So, and many times we have to, and I could speak from personal experience, is that probably go down various corridors in the hall of life. Various corridors that sometimes have no out to them, you know, and you have to turn around and go back the other way, retrace your steps. In other words, do some shit you done did before. Waste of time, sometimes. Depends on what you learn. And then there's that path that goes straight forward to wherever you think is heaven. Okay? Wherever you think is heaven. All right? The concept that we call heaven. Whatever you think is heaven. I just conjure up heaven in your head. And what you would think of as heaven. And that is your goal. Okay? See, that's been used throughout religions because that's the ultimate goal. Even in religious, even in theology, is to get to that place where you're content and happy and everything is wonderful for you. But the real, you know, reality of it is that sometimes that place doesn't exist physically. You have to actually create it. And depending on your needs and desires, it could be as simple as it can be, and it can be as grand as you would like it to be. Me, I just prefer comfortable. Okay? It doesn't have to be overly simple, neither does it have to be extremely grand. I just like to have what I like, what I want, and my wants aren't very big. You know, I mean, it doesn't take much for me to be happy. Okay, so when I learned about how the universe abhors vacuum, I realized that some of the things that I had caused to be a vacuum in my life, I've learned to replace them myself without seeking assistance from my higher self. And the things that I replaced it with was, some negative things, even though I must say that I did learn from those things, and perhaps I had to do that. But if I had my druthers, I wouldn't have went through that shit. That's what I'm trying to say. But, I have no regrets. That's what I'm saying as well. So, now I understand that I can create the void. I already know now that I have the power to create a void with the assistance of the universe, my universe. It's all up here, in thoughts in your head. And then I go to the universe. I state a desire. Before I create a void, I state what I want to place it with now. So earlier the example was, I want to remove the couch so that I can replace it with 2 lazy boys. That's what I want to do. And guess what? That's what I'm going to do. Okay, it's coming. I know it. I feel it. I have ordered it to be. So shall it be. So anyway, I just wanted to cap the vid off with this, because I just want you to know that you are the captain of your ship. Okay? You are the captain of your ship. And determining what makes you happy, don't do no stupid shit. Have no stupid wishes. And you know what is just ridiculous. We're talking about the basic needs of the human being: food, shelter, and clothing. How simple do you want that, or how grand do you want that? Hence, your desire. That makes sense to the universe. Because see, whatever you ask for got to make sense to the universe. You see, for you. Because the universe will be like, you can't have that. Because you ain't ready for that. So it's pretty wise, the universe is. You just have to listen to it. Listen to it. It's really you. But anyway, I just wanted to cap this vid off with that, because the evening is winding down, and I think I'm going to read. I read last night. I think I'm going to read tonight. It's been really, really peaceful. And I've really been thinking about some more designs I'm going to make. I know a friend of mine, I made some earrings that she had purchased for me. And she wants me to do a jewelry show at her house. In the future, do a jewelry show. But the thing is about jewelry creation for me is that it's difficult for me to recreate something. And I've been sitting up here trying to remember how I made those earrings. They're, if you go to my Facebook page, I think I got a picture of them up there. But anyway, they're, about 2 inches in diameter, maybe 3 inches in diameter, and they're leather. They're leather 3-inch discs, and I engraved a woman in the crescent moon on it, and dyed it a green color, really green color. And then of course I hand painted the woman. She's brown, of course. She got beautiful black hair, and the moon is silver. She says she's gotten so many comments on those earrings, but I really don't know how to recreate them. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing tonight, thinking of how I did that. Okay, everybody, I'm out of here. I'll talk to you later. I hope I haven't went over my time for this video.
Peace, YouTube. I want to talk about black nationalism and black consciousness. First of all, there is no black nation. That's an idea. That's the black nationalist ideology. Even though we've been separated from everyone else, we've been categorized just as everyone else, we don't have a sense of nation. In other words, what black nationalism, the ideology of black nationalism does, is that it puts at the forefront the needs of African people in every area of human experience. And even those of us who have been and went to college and gotten our degrees in various subject areas, those degrees in the black nationalist sense should be used for the upliftment, the rise, the empowerment of black people. And that just has not happened. And so when the young people poo-poo black nationalism, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because for the past 40 years we've been talking about black nationalism, and all our young people see us doing is having lectures, going to conferences, doing a lot of dialogue and a lot of talk, making CDs and writing books, but they have not seen not one group of black nationalists pool their resources and build a black institution for black nationalists ever. They haven't seen it. So of course they be like, black nationalism is some bullshit. But I'm here to tell you, young people, that black nationalism is not bullshit. It's an ideology. It's kind of like a dream that we have as black people since we've been excluded from the larger society. And when you look at our disparities, you'll see that we're at the top of all of those disparities. And the question to that is why? Why do we suffer more than anyone else in every area of disparities that have been outlined? I got a definition of black nationalism that I'd like to share with you, because I want to make clear to you that black consciousness precedes black nationalism. And what black consciousness does is it makes you aware of who you are. You're conscious of your blackness. You're conscious of your experience. You're conscious of what your ancestors did and where your ancestors came from. And your consciousness is what forms the basis for your black nationalism, your black nationalist ideology, what you would like to see as a people form into a nation. So I want to share this definition of black nationalism. I think I might have to put my peepers on so I can see the little words. After all, I am a older sister, so I got to use enhancement. Eye enhancements is what I call them. Eye enhancements. Okay. Seeing enhancements. Okay. Contrary to the prevailing misinformed assumptions, it says, misinformed assumptions, black nationalism as an ideology, you hear what I'm saying? As an ideology, it means it ain't formed yet. It ain't here yet. It's an ideology that we've been idealizing for about 30 to 40 years. Ain't manifested yet except for in our minds and in books. Okay? We haven't done the work yet, actually. And inaction is not a rabid assertion of black supremacy. So black nationalists, in its ideological form, it doesn't think that we are superior to other people, even though that is what has been touted or let me see, what word could I use? That has been defined as our ideology by those outside of the group. And that thought has infected some within the group who believe that when we talk of black nationalism, and because we speak of ancient Egypt and the things that we've done and how we've built this country, that we think we're supreme or superior to other people. And as a black nationalist, I can say for myself that I certainly do not think that I'm superior to anyone. But I will say that I am equal to everyone. Anyway, it goes on to say that unlike white nationalism and patriotism, black nationalism and its proponents do not seek to humiliate, exploit, or oppress any person or people. Now, that points to the fact that black nationalism is still in the ideological form, because even the black nationalists themselves, you will find sexism. You will find some black nationalists that call themselves black nationalists, but when you hear them talk, you'll see that they literally hate black women. Unbelievable. Jealous of black women because the white man that gave the black woman the job. It won't give the man the job. So he gets a little jealous because the sister now has a sense of independence, okay, where she ain't dependent on him to feed her because she'll starve to death. But he's not smart enough to say, okay, baby, you go get the money and I'll handle the house or whatever, because he's caught up in ego. But anyway, I digress. And not only that, and even she, in her independence, has used that to lord that over the man. You see, I think we don't really understand the natures of one another, because men who are raised up in the same society as white men, they are infected with egotism as well. So women, we have to understand that, and brothers, you have to understand where you are right now in your powerless state. You can't even protect your woman. Never have been able to. So you have to address that, because a woman is not going to respect any man who cannot protect her against other men. And you have not proven that to the black woman, which is why you, my brothers, in a roundabout way, don't get the respect that you feel you are due as men. But anyway, I digress from black nationalism. It goes on to say that black nationalism is a positive affirmation of the cultural, political, social, and economic identity of African people. I would go so far as to say that's black consciousness. That's when you're conscious of who you are, your culture, where you come from, or the culture that you wish you had, or where you come from, your social and your economic condition. That's understanding that it all has to do with the fact that you're black. That's black consciousness. That's being aware of your blackness, being aware of your state of blackness. Okay, where you are as a black person. That's black consciousness, which forms the basis for black nationalism. And the only reason we have black nationalism, it is a response. It is a response to the larger society marginalizing black people, where to the point where black people made the decision that if we can't participate in the larger society, then we will form our own black nation, because they have castigated us as a group, and we might as well become a black nation for all intents and purposes. But as I said before, that has not manifested. All we got out of black nationalism is a lot of books, some lectures, some CDs, a whole bunch of talking, and no damn nothing manifested, which is why our youth today poo-poo black nationalism. And I'm saying if black nationalists want to be recognized by our young people, particularly those that are going into these colleges and being taught something else, then we are going to have to manifest something in form, a structure, a building, a functioning institution, so that our young people can say, yes, that is the result of black nationalism. So with that said, this is Queen Ifama on black nationalism. Hope you got something out of it, because guess what? I always get something out of it, because I am Queen Ifama, the truth terrorist. Peace, Black to See. This is Queen Ifama, and you know, I got your video in my inbox, and I want to respond to your video, even though I'm not one of those women that you're talking about. I'm an older woman, older sister. So I wanted to put my 2 cents in this. And I wanted to say to you that you know, first of all, people have every right in the world not to talk if they don't want to talk. Okay? That's their right. Secondly, you know, like you were stating in your video, that you was young, you know, nice looking men sitting at a table, and there were some black women sitting over there who didn't respond to your advances. That's what I'm going to call them, advances. And a lot of times sisters ain't out looking for advances. They're just out with their girls, and they don't want to be talked to. A lot of times they're watching you, seeing what you do. And if you're coming off all aggressive, you know, you go past hello, because a lot of times when you say hello to a sister, next thing you know, you giving them 20 questions. They don't want to answer 20 questions to you. A hello is fine if they respond, cool if they don't, fuck them. That's what I'm saying, because the statistics say that there are more women than men. So guess what? Eventually, there will be other young black women who will respond to your hello. They'll say hello back. All right, and may even advance a conversation themselves. See, as women, we've been accosted by brothers who, you know, step to us and we don't feel like talking. You know, they go past a hello. Then they go, like you said, brother started asking one sister where she from, and saw she had an accent, want to ask her where she from and all that kind of stuff. She don't want to go through 20 questions, brother. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens a lot of times when you see sisters out. They're just out kicking it with their girls. Say hello to them, and you and your boys continue the conversation. Guess what? They're watching what you're doing. So my advice is, when you're out, you know, just say hello. And you don't have to tell them how good they look. I don't know what respect is to you, but respect to me is when you see people not wanting to be bothered, don't bother them. Continue your conversation with your friend. Or if you're by yourself, move the fuck on. That's what I'm saying. You know, nobody's beholden to you. No one has to respond to you. See, one of the things that I think that we find very hard to do, and that is accept rejection. We don't like to be rejected. And to be able to move past someone saying, I don't want to be bothered with you. I don't want to talk. You know, their action speaks louder than words. And when you get that reaction to your initial hello, you get a reaction that says they don't seem like they want to be bothered. Don't press it. Move on. Because guess what? There will be other women who will respond. They'll feel like talking. But I'm going to tell you this. A lot of times, sisters see a group of young black men, and they're reluctant to even open up their mouths, because they know that once they say hello, it goes into a whole other level of conversation, uninvited conversation that they don't want to have. So you have to be able to detect when a woman wants to have a conversation with you. You cannot force a conversation or think that just because you look good that someone should respond to your requests. Shamar Moore is a star, all right, a rap star, whatever he is. I think that's somebody I've seen in a movie or a video or whatever. I don't know, but the name is familiar. Well, that is an individual who is a quote-unquote star. So a lot of times women are starstruck, and of course they will gravitate toward Shamar Moore because of that, not because of his qualities or his personality or anything like that. They're responding to an image, all right? So what I'm trying to say to you and all the brothers today is that when you're out and black women don't act like they don't want to be bothered, fuck them. Don't even waste your time, because guess what? There will be some that will respond to you after your hello. And who knows, had you just said hello and kept on talking with your boys, they might have offered some kind of signal or something saying that this is now an invitation for conversation after they saw that you had some sense. All right, because a lot of times sisters, you know, they're kind of skeptical about having conversation right off the bat with brothers, because they're watching you. They're watching how you behave. They're watching how you interact with other brothers. They're listening to what you say. So if you're loud talking and, you know, just doing what I consider negative behavior that a sister, a decent sister, would not accept, then they're not going to have anything to do with you. That's, you know, what I'm trying to say. You, black to see, a nice looking brother, you know what I'm saying? And you can't force anyone to want to respond to you. As far as them white girls, you pegged it right. They do look at you like you're a walking dildo. Alright? And so of course they're going to give you the quote unquote time of day because they have an ulterior motive. Alright? That is to ride your dildo. Okay? So don't try to compare that because you can't. Your invitation to those sisters that you described as scumbags, funky people, bitches, they are not going to respond to this video because they do not see themselves as these names that you call them. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and as far as them getting mad, I guess you're gauging that they get angry when black men talk to white women, that they get angry because of that. I mean, I don't think this instance with these sisters have anything to do with that phenomena, you know, because I've just recently got to a point where the hairs on the back of my neck don't stand up when I see a black man with a white woman. Okay? I just had to learn that people are people. They do what the fuck they want to do. Okay? So, you know, one black brother going to a white woman ain't no skin off my nose. The pool I choose from don't fuck with white women. Okay? My guy don't fuck with white women, never have. Okay? And never will, according to him. Alright? So, you know, you just have to choose your, at that moment, think. Stop and think about what you're doing. And, you know, the most best way to do it is if you with your boys, just say hello to the women and continue your conversation. Trust me, they're watching you. They're watching how you interact with your boys. You know, they're watching how you conversate with your boys. They're looking at your level of maturity. Okay, and trying to pressure someone's, accosting them with 20 questions is not, and you don't even know them, that is not going to get you any rhythm. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So, you know, just learn to move on. You know, like I said, there are millions of women out here who would like to have conversation with nice looking men who display some sense. See, nice looking don't mean you got a damn brain in your head. It means you're a nice looking idiot. Okay? Don't be a nice looking idiot. Alright? That's what I'm trying to say to you. Learn a woman. You have to learn women. See, y'all ain't learned women yet. You have to learn women. You know what I'm saying? You come with this aggressive behavior that is a turn off, brothers, for a woman who don't even know you. Okay? So, you know, you have to let a woman see you and see how you act, see how you behave to determine for herself whether she wants to even have conversation with you. So this is Queen Ifama, the truth terrorist. Hopefully you and the brothers got something out of this, because guess what? I most certainly did. I learned from every video that I do and every video that I read. So with that said, I'm going to shut this down. Hotep. Hi, kid brother. I was just listening to your video. I had just did a video, and as I was reviewing that video, your video showed up on the screen, and so I clicked on it and I listened to what you had to say in part one. I haven't reviewed the other parts yet, but in part one I kind of agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that one of the things, as I stated in my video, is what we're missing as women is femininity. And I think the feminist movement was key and very responsible for taking femininity and giving it a negative connotation by saying that to be feminine, to be nurturing, to be a mother, to be a housewife is somehow degrading to the woman, to women. And I think that, you know, that in itself made women want to assert themselves more like a man would, because they've been admonished to literally think like men in order to maneuver in a man's world. I don't agree with that. I think that as the feminine principle, once we have been assertive in our rights, because there is no doubt that women were subjugated by men prior to the women's movement, but it was as a result of that movement they got laws into place that protected women, whether in the workplace or in the home, from either discrimination or male aggression that, you know, caused a lot of problems in families, as far as women being physically abused by men with no repercussions done to the men. And Lord knows they didn't have brothers and fathers, particularly in this culture, to step up and, you know, talk to the brother and, you know, get some understanding and what his role is as a man, and not as a dominator and a beater. So that in part of the feminist movement I am very grateful for. However, what I do think is that the feminist movement usurped it, along with the sexual revolution. I think the feminist movement and the sexual revolution usurped the femininity in women, and in black women in particular, who always have struggled with her femininity, her womanness, has always struggled with that in trying to define where she fit in the societal roles of woman and being feminine. Now, historically, femininity has been associated with a woman being weak, that she cannot do the things that men can do, or that she doesn't deserve to be paid even if she can perform a particular task as a man, that she's not afforded the equal credit, whether it be money or whether it be accolades or whatever it be. She's not afforded that. Not only that, particularly in the black movement, black women really were relegated to like a lower status in the black power movement. And at that point, women had to assert themselves, and they did it through, you know, listening to feminist ideology to assert themselves in these various organizations. So, you know, my whole point is that I think that the femininity of a woman has to be rebirthed, because I think it literally has disappeared. The softness, the ability to get what you want without acting hard. You know what I'm saying? The energy that you give to your man that makes him want to protect you, makes him want to make sure that you're safe. This is a quality from the feminine. It answers the masculinity in a man. So it doesn't really matter, you know, whether a man has a job or is, you know, able to provide for a woman at that particular time. I'm going to tell you is that once a woman displays that feminine quality of herself to her man, and is not being in submission to your man, but it is an essence of you as a woman that complements your man. So in other words, as a woman, you are very, very much aware as what uplifts your man, what pushes your man's buttons. You contrast the place he is in the world. I guarantee you, if he's a righteous man, even if he don't have a job, if he's a righteous man, he's going to want to protect you. And in protecting you, that means that he also will protect you psychologically, where you don't feel as though you're a beast of burden taking care of a grown-ass man. I guarantee you that in your feminine side, and I'm talking to sisters, when you reveal your femininity, when your femininity blossoms, your man will go out and work for you. As a matter of fact, he might go get 2 or 3 jobs. That's what I'm saying, to protect you. You see what I'm saying? And in that capacity, I think that what men have to look at is the culture that they're in as men, and how that culture was born out of the Roman Greco culture, which is what we're still participating in, which is why for the most part, men appear to be kind of weak. And I think that is because over the decades and years and thousands of years, we've kind of like tried to become this androgynous society, which is about the most craziest thing I've ever heard of. Is different as men and women are. We can't be the same. It's impossible. The way that we fit, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just impossible for us to be equal. The fact that pound for pound, a man has more physical strength than a woman, which gives him certain duties and responsibilities in the family, as well as the woman who lacks physical strength has strength in other areas, which I will not go into, and no, they are not sexual. And that is one of the biggest problems, is that in that sexual revolutionary women's movement, we became sexy. We became able to exert ourselves sexually. And I've had a brother tell me recently, he's around my age, that he hasn't seen so many sexually aggressive women as he has in the past 20 years. And that women literally think like men. In other words, you know how a man will go and have sex with a woman and that's it? And that's what women are doing. And no doggone well that the sexual act for women is very, very sacred because of what it is to produce. So when you bring animalistic behavior to that part of the relationship, which is just what wham bam thank you ma'am is, whether it's male or female, you're going to have problems in the male-female dynamic. So what we as women have to do is stop manning up. What we have to do is woman up and be women and be feminine. Learn how to be feminine, because a lot of us are as hard as our men. I mean, I listen to some of these young sisters talking, and I be waiting for them to whip out a penis. They sound so hard and like men. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I attribute that to the culture that we're in, and I think that we can move away from that, and I think women hold the key to that, because I think men do what they do because we allow them to do. And I'm not saying that we make demands of men. I'm just saying that we begin to simply be women, and everything will fall in place. So I appreciated your video, and that's why I responded to your video, because I think you're on point now. I may go to parts 2, 3, and I think you got 4 parts to this video, and I may get boiling mad because, you know, as these videos wind up, they seem to be a little misogynist toward the middles and the ends. Hopefully yours isn't like that. So I am going to sign off now. This is Queen Ifama, the Truth Terrorist, and you can contact me. I'm on Blog Talk Radio on Sundays at 8 p.m. Come on by and check me out on Blog Talk Radio. And with that said, I'll go and review the rest of your videos. Peace. Peace, Pastor Johans. This is Queen Ifama, and I'm responding to your video as well as doing a response. And this, I'm getting ready to go to work right now, but I had to do this because I don't have a lot of time. But I got a response from someone who said, what about the whites who pitted blacks against each other and caused wars? I just want to let them know that whites did not pit blacks against blacks and start wars between black African people. They were doing that when the European came on the shores. That's how they were easily exploited, is because they were warring with one another. And the fact that the European had another method of weaponry That is why they began to trade with Africans and trade Africans between the European and the African, guns for Africans and all that other kind of stuff. Not only that, there was a slave trade, or you could call it a trade if you wish, but I prefer to call it a war. There was a trade war between the Africans and the Arabs. Okay, and not only that, the Arab Muslims and African Muslims who would go up and trade and get Africans and trade them. Okay, so you know these romanticized ideas, which is, see, this is what makes me know that people don't go further than the CD or the DVD that they look at. Because my suggestion is that, and this is how it worked for me, is that you ask the question, well, how did that happen? Or why did that happen? Or how did that happen? And you dig further, because for each and every lecturer or book that you read, they have references, if they're credible. They have references as to where they get their information from. And you can go and research that information for yourself and come to your own damn conclusions. Because I've been to lectures, I've got CDs, I've got DVDs that talked about how African people were pitted against one another and exploited. The European only saw opportunity because it existed. They were already fighting with one another. The European just interceded and provided them with other weaponry, and also, not only that, they were instrumental in escalating some of the wars. So it's not as though black people or African people were so totally innocent that they would just, the Europeans just came and took over our minds and took over our lands. Hell no. I actually had something to do with that too. So what I like to do, and I always like to, give people information, starting with stuff that I've read. And one of the books I'd like for people to read is The Rebirth of African Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams. Not just the destruction of African civilization, but the book The Rebirth of African Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams. Also, here's another book that I want you to get. It's called The Black Holocaust for Beginners. Okay, and it's by a guy called C.E. Anderson. I want you to get the book because it's a pretty simplistic book. But you got to go further than this book. This is just a foundation for you. Put it up there so you can see it. The Black Holocaust for Beginners. Very condensed, very exact. Talks about the slave trade. Talks about a whole lot of stuff in this little bitty book. You know what I'm saying? And I want you... This is the back of the book. Shows you the back of the book. And also there's another book called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And I think it's by Walter Rodney. Get that book. You need to start reading instead of just sitting up and listening to these DVDs and the YouTube people. You need to start doing research for yourself so that you can be, you can articulate the position of black people better. Because the only people who were the victims were the ones who was put on those damn slave ships and marched and put in them damn dungeons. Those were the victims. You got Africans and Europeans and Arabs who were complicit in all of that. Okay? The victims are the ones who we descended from. You got that? And I'm not talking to you, Pastor Johans. I'm talking to the person who wrote me and whose comments, I don't know, I think they must have wrote me directly because they don't appear on the page. But they wrote me with that ancient ass shit about the Europeans starting wars between Africans. Well, they didn't start them. They just exploited something that was already there. That's what I'm trying to get across to our younger, older, and every damn body else who seem to have these romantic ideas about the innocence of African people in the enslavement of African people. Wasn't nobody innocent. The only people innocent was the victims, as I said before. So here's the book. Very simple book called The Black Holocaust for Beginners. For beginners. It don't say children. For children, it say for beginners. So it gives you a firm foundation that you can expound upon. My whole thing is to study for yourself and don't let other people sitting up in a lecture hall, or because they ain't got but so much time. So all they giving you is a synopsis of the history of African people's enslavement. You have to go and do some research on your own and piece things together so you can come up with a picture that makes sense. Because for me, what didn't make sense was the fact that I know I'm smart, and I know other black people are smart, and I know damn well that a whole continent of people can't be so dumb as to have some people come up in their house and just take over. That just don't make sense to me. It didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now. So that caused me to go and do research, to find out, to understand. You know, from slave narratives. That's why I know that's why I understand all about the process of enslavement, because I read the narratives of the slaves. But even in reading those narratives, I understand who they was talking to. So at some point, you got to do an analysis of the mentality of our people. Even when we're reading about the slave narratives, you can assess even from the conversations that they didn't get into the real deep situations that they were in. Some did go get a little deep, and I think it depends on who you're talking to. Some say, fuck it, I ain't got nothing to lose. I'm just going to tell a whole damn story from my perspective, the plantation that I was on and how I was treated. Or, you know, you could go all the way back to some of the Africans who were enslaved on the ships, then got an ability to write, and then wrote up some shit. You know what I'm saying? That detailed what happened to them. But you also got to know what audience they was writing for. All right? So you got to be able to go and use your third eye, your inner spirit, to understand what happened to our people, and to know that, you know, we're not totally innocent in that as black people. I'm not talking about you or me, because we're the descendants of the victims of that Holocaust. Okay, so Pastor Johans, thank you so much for responding to my video, and you know, Brother T-Mott, I'm glad you refreshed my memory to Brother T-Mott, and I just want us to, you know, especially our people who are interested in this, is to do the research so that you're able to articulate the situation black people are even today, because that it still has an effect on us today. And I know we want to romanticize, we want to feel good about our situation. We don't want to take responsibility for the situation we're in. And I'm like, we ain't got to take responsibility, because we ain't have a hand in the shit. It was other black people who had a hand in the shit. Now, where their descendants is, I don't know, but we ain't asking them for no damn reparations. But see, the key thing, and this is what I forgot to bring out on my last video, what I forgot, is that we look at inherited wealth. And even those Africans who participated in that slave trade, they didn't pass down no wealth to their damn generations. They didn't build no empires on that slave trade that has lasted for generation after generation. You understand what I'm saying? They did not create any hierarchies based on skin color, because the white man is still going over there exploiting Africa, okay? So that is what I forgot, what I wanted to bring out in my last video that I forgot. So with that said, this is Queenie Ifama, the Truth Terrorist. I got to get ready to go to my job, because I got to pay my damn rent. And, you know, that's all to it. And if you like, you can support me by buying some earrings from me at www.ifama.com. Because symbolism, the symbology of who we are as a people, is very important to me. That's part of our culture. We're building culture. As Brother Johan say, we're creating history. We're making history. We're creating culture. That's what we have to do. Peace, everybody.
You know, I was sitting here listening to the video, Brother Holipsism, and you said something key, and I'm listening to the video, if you aren't a descendant of slaves, what is your excuse? And I thought that was a really good topic as we, you know, listen to these various groups of people who, first of all, they say, well, you know, we're Moors, and we were here before the slave traders came here. And you know what? I surmise that if black folk Moors were here, black Moors were here, they were doing the same damn thing that the rest of them was doing, and that is bringing people over here and enslaving them just like everybody else. And the fact that these people claim these identities based on shame. And I think that we have to look at the origin of why are black folk ashamed of the enslavement of their ancestors. And to me, that makes absolutely no damn sense. It's kind of like when you talk about a person being abused, right? And we have had plenty of discussion about physical abuse, sexual abuse, and how the person who's abused take on this shame for something that they had no control over. And that was brought about by, you know, I guess the society at large saying that you should have done something about it, when the reality is that you couldn't have done anything about it. But you torture yourself with shame, which you shouldn't be ashamed of anything, because it was something that you could not, prevent from happening. The ones who should be shamed are the ones who did it to you, not you for being powerless to have it done to you. Okay? And that's one of the things that I see with this moving away from the history of black people here in America, with that shit about, oh, we were here before the Europeans. Yeah, we was here before the Europeans trading and shit. Okay? And then just joined in on the trading of black people if we weren't doing it first. Alright? And I think historically there is documentation of black Moors trading black folk with Arabs. So, you know, if anybody should be shamed, I'd be shamed to say I was a damn black Moor. Because your history, black Moor, indicates to me that you were trading black folk too. African people too. So I don't understand this shame that black people have of being enslaved, shame that black people have of, you know, going through Jim Crow and all that other kind of stuff, when at many instances and the way the society is created, that there's absolutely nothing you could do about it at that particular time. But today, there is no damn excuse for our condition. I'm just gonna put that shit on the table. There is no excuse. You know, the only excuse that we have is our not understanding our history and our not forming God, what word can I use for that? You know, not being able to, particularly leadership, the leadership of the people, because the people go follow the leadership. So it's important, in my opinion, that the leadership, whatever leadership your ass may want to be a part of, that you have a clear understanding of the history of African people, particularly here in America where you are, all right, and your relationship to those who brought your ass over here. So you have to have a clear, as a leader, and like I said, whatever leader, you could be a spiritual leader, you could be a political leader, you could be an educational leader. I don't give a damn what tag you put on your leadership. But if you're out there trying to tell other people what to do, then you should have a clear understanding of, number one, the history of how we got here, why we came here, and who brought us here. And number two, the psychological damage that has done to our people. Because we have many, many, many scholars that have studied it. You know, not only scholars in the university, but we got our damn Google scholars, our Wikipedia scholars that have pieced all this shit together and came out with a conclusive picture of the state of black folk in America. So it is incumbent that the leadership, and that is why, Brother Holism, I really understand why you come down so hard on the quote-unquote leaders, because the leaders seem to me are just selfish ass individuals who just want somebody to follow them for their own personal egotistical and monetary gain. Basically, they're not thinking about the condition of the people, or else these leaders would be coming together to solve the problems of the people. Because like I said, the people are sheeple. They're going to follow the leaders. All right? That's just how, human beings are. Not just black people, but that's how human beings are. We conform to leadership, all right? And once the leaders have a united front, all the black leaders have a united front with conclusive understanding of the conditions, how we got here, why we got here, who brought us here, and what the hell we gonna do about it. They come together to solve the problem. Step A, step B, step C, step E. Okay? First and foremost is the education of your people. You must educate your people in order for them to understand their psychological state. Because once you put it out there for the people, and I'm talking about starting this shit from the womb all the way up through your educational process, once you start that, and then you mix in your political. And this means that the political part is when we decide how we're going to work the system that we're in. Because in America, you could forget about creating another type of system. But what you can do is make this system work for you and yours. And your people. Your people. Black people. If you want to call them your people, you can call them your people. They are your people if you're working in the interests of them. But if you're a selfish individual, no, they're not your people. Okay? But if you're working in the interest of black people and you've came together with other leaders, and this is done in other areas of groups, you can see, that's why we always use them as example of people who come together. All right? It's not the people per se, it's the leadership. It's the leadership that forms the do's and don'ts of the culture of the group of people. Because you can have a different culture or way of doing things, thinking, seeing, and behaving with one another and with those outside of your group. That's your culture. So you can create that culture based on your experiences and the understanding of those experiences. But we are so imbibed with shame of something that we had no control that we avoid the reality of who we are, what we are, and where we should be going as a group. Because please do not be dissuaded to understand that we are a group of people. We were brought over here in groups. We were coined as a group. We're still a freaking group, okay, according to where we are, all right? African people in America, African Americans, Negroes in America, niggas in America, whatever you want to call it, okay? Whatever you want to call it, that's what it is, but it is a group of people. But we're a group of people that are fragmented within the group itself. And one of the main things that I see that fragments us more than anything else, no, it's two things: religion and self-image. Because see, first of all, the most primary is self-image. If you have a concrete self-image of who you are, then your religion is only to buoy your spirituality. It helps you connect with your spiritual energy, okay? So you know who you are, and now you have the spiritual energy to do what you need to do. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor this too much longer, but I really wanted to comment on the shame part of your statement in your video. If you aren't a descendant of slaves, what is your excuse? Because I think that's very key and critical to understand that it is the shame of it that has created this mentality that we have that moves us away from our ma'afa. You see, instead of embracing our ma'afa, we move away from our ma'afa because of shame with things like, oh, my ancestors weren't slaves, or, you know, I'm a Moor, or I'm a Hebrew Israelite, or I'm one of the original Jews. No, 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 Negro, African, nigga. You were brought here, your ancestors were brought here in the bows of ships. the majority of us, and I don't know nobody who could trace it back to the free African that came over here on his own. Okay, if you can do that, then let me know. But for the most of us, and I'm going to say 99.9% of us, if we had the resources, we could trace our ancestry back to those who were enslaved and brought over here to America. Okay? That is not who we are. That is what we had become. Okay? Enslaved people in America with a history somewhere else. A further history, a grander history somewhere else. But we're talking about the here and now and the immediate past, which I would say is the enslavement in America. That's the immediate past. Okay, we have a grander past than that, but I'm talking about the immediate past. So I think understanding this shame that we have to be African, and that is the core of all of these subgroups within the African community, for lack of a better word, is this shame that we try to move away from instead of dispelling. And you know, like I said, you can't make nobody else feel ashamed, but those are the ones who should be feeling ashamed. But guess what? They have no fucking shame. I'm here to tell you. And will use your feelings and your circumstances to say that you could have prevented what happened to you, when history shows that you were, first of all, surprised because you didn't even see the shit coming. Not only that, you had assistance from other folks who looked like you. Okay? So it was an inside job for the most part. I'm just going to put that out there for those of you who refuse to look at that reality. It was an inside job that our asses wound up over here. I'm just going to put that on the table. So those of us who wound up over here shouldn't have no shame. It's those who caused us to come over here that should have shame. It's those who bought us like with cash money. They should have shame. It's those who worked us on those plantations to build this nation, the wealth of this nation. Those are the ones who should have shame for using other human beings and trying to dehumanize them. They should have shame. But we, as black people here in America, should bear no shame as to what happened to us. And as a matter of fact, we should have some pride of the resilience that we've survived, with the resilience that we've survived this shit. You know, though not totally mentally intact, but the mind is one of those things that can be changed, giving a willing individual. And so I think that we must address and dispel this shame that we have internalized and maybe not even addressed ourselves, the shame of being enslaved. You know, like I'm going to bring it right back to incest. You know, you have incest survivors who first thing they would tell you is they felt shame because they were violated. But the shame, they later learned, should not be on their part. It should be on the part of the violator for violating them. So we can use that as a compass to, you know, gauge our addiction to shame. Because I ain't ashamed of what my ancestors went through. I'm rather fucking proud to see what we were then and what we are now as this gruntled and dismantled and, you know, all the other disses that we are. I'm still amazed that we are still here as a group of people, you know, still functioning even in our disunity. So I'm just saying to people that, you know, look at the shame part of all of these people who claim to be other than descendants of Africans who were brought over here and enslaved. And you will, and as you know, pointed out, you will see that the seed of that is shame. And this shame was perpetrated through propaganda by the ones who did it to us. You see what I'm saying? Throughout their writings. And, you know, we aligned ourselves. They wanted to lump us in with those who were part of the inside job, the black people who were part of the inside job, and say your own people sold you into slavery. No, those weren't my damn people. Those were enslavers. You know, people who were selling people for their own personal benefit. Black, white, purple, or green. You know, in many cases, like I said, they had to be black because those are the ones who were on the inside, who could go up in there and do it. So, you know, we need to stop. I think that the thing is, for me, was to look at my shame. Because I think in the earlier years, you know, you do have, it is infectious, this thing of shame, as you, and you don't coin it as shame either. It's not something that you say, I'm ashamed of us for being, no, you don't do it like that. It's done through other areas of action that you do. So I had to really look at my actions, and then I looked at it as being ashamed of my hair, ashamed of my nose, ashamed of my body, ashamed of the way that I talk. No, I'm not ashamed of any of that. You see, because I'm not the creator of that, the originator of that. This language I speak, the only thing that I could say truly is the way I look is part of the lineage that I come from. There's no shame in looking like this. There's no shame in having hair like mine. So, you know, the perpetrator introduced shame in the equation by using the example or creating the example of beauty and saying, you don't look like that. You should look like this. You know, the original was the blonde hair, blue eyes. That's on the upper end of the spectrum. And then, you know, then the white folks with the brown hair. So anything white, no matter what color, but the blonde hair was the ultimate. Okay? So my whole point in this video was to talk about shame and how it's so unconscious that you have to bring it to the conscious and, you know, examine yourself. You know, because a lot of times we don't really bring that to the conscious, and we do things subconsciously, like the desire for blue eyes. Why would you want any color or eye in your head other than what it is? Besides someone saying that yours is inferior. So you would, I know a young lady I got on YouTube had eye implants in her head. Blue eye implants in her head. I'm telling you, it looked crazy. And she eventually had to get them out. But my point is that they create these instances where we feel as though we just don't look good enough. And there's nothing wrong with enhancing yourself, like we wear makeup, and even some of us get, you know, different hairstyles and, you know, stuff in our heads and stuff like that. I recognize that as being part of adornment. But that's what it should be, adornment, not trying to alter yourself so that you look like someone else or you feel good about yourself. Because you should, if you want to wear a blonde wig, you are free to do that. But you should feel just as good when you have your own hair on your head. Okay, that's the point. It's like wearing a hat. You know, you can put the hat on and you look good in the hat, or you can take the hat off and you look good in the hat. The bottom line is you feel good either way it goes. So, with that said, I'm going to shut this video down. It went to 19 minutes. But I just wanted to say that we should examine ourselves in the shame department, because that can be so subconscious. We will play that out so subconsciously that, you know, we have to really, really, really think about it. We have to ponder on it. We have to contemplate it in order to understand our own motives and objectives. So with that said, Brother Holistism, thank you so much for giving me that little seed for this vid. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
Hey everybody, just wanted to weigh in here on this thing about interracial dating. You know, people of different races finding one another and marrying one another. And you know, I'm from the old school, and I guess because I have a understanding of history and the whys we do things and how the minds of black people were turned against themselves, where, you know, they tried to move away as far as possible from who they are and embrace those who have hung them, castrated them, killed them, raped them, maimed them, enslaved them, and so forth and so on. You know, I developed an aversion to interracial dating because I felt it was traitorous. But today, you know, I kind of have a different view about it, because a lot more black people really know who they are, and they're making choices to find love regardless of a person's skin color. And in a perfect world, that would be a wonderful thing. But, you know, as we know historically, black men in particular have been, you know, lynched and hung, and lynched and hung is the same thing, but you understand what I'm saying. They've been castrated and all of those types of things for being accused of even looking at a white woman, or even if we go back to the Emmett Till incident, where this young man was killed because he supposedly whistled at a white woman. So it's the white man who has enforced these racial divides, these racial lines, these lines in the sand that we're not supposed to cross over, or we will face his wrath. You understand? But he's been able to cross over the line to black women with no repercussions whatsoever. And so when you know, for me, whenever I, you know, come across people that, you know, date out of their race, you know, it's a curiosity to me, because one of the first things that come to my mind is I wonder why did they choose someone outside of their race? Because it's easier, I think, for a person to be with someone that they're more akin to, you know what I'm saying, that they have more in common with, than to cross over and date someone where there could be some kind of repercussions from, you know, those other people who historically has had an aversion to even the thought of a black person dating someone. So, you know, from what I've looked at and what I've understood is there's two different reasons. You know, one of the reasons I find that people date out of their race is because they have something about themselves that they're trying to disassociate themselves from. And then you have those that truly fall in love with somebody, and someone falls in love with them, and they find happiness with one another. So, you know, as in the case of black men and white women, I find for the most part, from what I've understood and saw, and trust me, this is not a broad brush, because I'm only going by what I know. And that is, black men marry white women simply because they're white, okay? Black women marry white men because they're looking for love, not because they're white. But then again, you got to also understand that there's also this, you know, it's hard for me to put it in words, but when you look at, when I went to YouTube and I did, like, looked at some of the videos of interracial marriages and relationships, particularly white men and black women, I never saw any of those white men with a woman with hair that was quote unquote nappy, you know, in its natural state. It's either crinkly or it's straight. Now, to me, if a white man really loved a black woman, you know, and he wanted to find a black woman, and I'm not saying it don't exist, I just haven't seen it. I would see a white man with a black woman with her hair in its natural state, not locked, not straightened, but natural, like a natural head of hair, be it in braids or in the natural style or whatever, but and nappy hair. You know what I'm saying? I mean, real coarse, what we consider African hair, melanated people's hair, people from the interior of Africa's hair. I don't see white men marrying black women that look really black. Okay, they have dark skin, but they don't look African like the pictures of real African. Well, I don't like to say real African people, so I don't want to keep putting my foot in my mouth trying to say that. But what I'm saying is that I didn't see an African woman, like on some of my videos, I got my natural hair. I don't see white men with women who look like that, whose hair is like that, okay? And that kind of like makes me question the motive. What is he looking for? Is he looking for a black European looking woman with dark skin is the result, how the babies go look when they come out, and I've heard black women say stuff to that effect about how the babies go look when they come out and stuff like that. But I always question the motive. But if a person is truly marrying someone because they love them and it's genuine, and it's all, and that's what it's all about. Because when the rubber meets the road in the final analysis, it's going to be those two people making a life for themselves and their family. So, I've grown tremendously in the past, I would say 10 years, in looking at relationships that, are interracial or cross racial lines. And, even though I'm getting accustomed to it, I can honestly say that it still raises questions in my mind. And, it used to be a time when the hairs on the back of my neck would raise up when I saw particularly a black man with a white woman. Just knowing the history of that relationship and how many black men are in the grave as a result of that. So it would just make me wonder. I even wrote a poem called Bleak Star Brother, where I stated, why would you want to be with somebody that would get you hung by the neck? You know what I'm saying? So, I think I've grown tremendously over the years, and I think that's what growing up is all about. It's really understanding history, and it's growing to know that we are human beings on the planet. Now, I could say that our association with white people has not been very helpful to us as a group of people. And that black people, for the most part, have been marginalized in this society. And that our labor was literally used to build this society, but we don't get any credit for it. And that's one of the big issues that I have, which is why I support a reparations movement, even though, to me right now it's in the theoretical. It's theory. It ain't practical, because nobody has really came out with a feasible plan for distribution of reparations. But I'm not anti-reparations. I'm just going to put it like that, because I do believe people should get paid for their labor, whether it was legal at the time or not. It was still, in my opinion, a crime against humanity and against the will of those people. So I think those people need to be compensated. So this is Queen Ifama talking about relationships, and that's what I like to do, is discuss relationships based on my experience. And I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring when it came to discussing interracial dating and interracial marriage. And I just would like to say to the people that are engaging in this type of activity that they assess the reasons that they're doing it. Is it love or is it escape? I'll put it like that. Is it love or is it escape? Do you really understand the history and the relationship? Do you know what you're going to face? Because everybody's not growing up. You got some people that are dead stuck. And, I consider myself a black nationalist. And the reason I'm a black nationalist is because black people have been marginalized. So if that's the case, if we've been separated by society, then we must build our own nation to benefit us. So I got to go, y'all. The YouTube is up. Have a great peace, everybody. This is Queen Ifama, and I'm just doing a little follow-up on my last video.
I think I had talked about, it might have been the one before that, when I talked about the universe, it holds vacuum, and I created the vacuum, just to let you know. I had my couch removed. It was taken out by Tyrone, came and got it. And I decided, though, that I don't want lazy boys. I decided that I don't want nothing called lazy up in my house, all right, up in my place where I live. I don't want anything called lazy. So I don't want lazy boys. So I decided what I do want, though, is I want reading chairs. I want reading chairs. And I want to get ottomans that, you know, to put ottomans in front of them where you kind of put your feet up. But I also want the ottomans to be able to hold books and stuff. So I'm thinking about going on Craigslist, because I really don't have to have brand new chairs, because I could recover them myself. So I was thinking about going on Craigslist and getting the chairs, and then I may have to make my ottomans to match the chairs, because even if I have to get different chairs, I could still cover them in the same fabric. They'll just be two different styles of chair that really don't matter to me, because it's my crib and don't nobody be there with me anyway. And I was going to make, if I had to make my ottomans, I was going to make them, I was going to probably either, you know, just construct them out of some wood and put hinges on them in a box, make a box and cover it with foam and cover it with cloth that match the chairs. Or I was going to get some crates, you know, and take the crates and maybe saw the top so I can have a, but then I have to create like a, yeah, well, I think I could do it. I'm just trying to think of how I would do that. But anyway, either I can use crates or I can, you know, just get wood and make my boxes. To create the ottomans that I want with foam and then leather, you know, I mean, material. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I decided that I wanted. I created the void, the vacuum. Now the vacuum will be filled. And my living room looks funny without furniture in it. And I'm going to position all the furniture too. And so what else I want to talk about in this video is identity, because I did kind of touch on or briefly touch on that in the last video that I did about African identity. And you know what I decided, and I've come to the conclusion, is that you are who you say you are. It's just as simple as that. And it's kind of, I'm going to put it like this. You know how you got people saying that we shouldn't call each other nigger, and we shouldn't call each other black, or we shouldn't say we're African American, whatever. But I'm going to tell you something. There are some people who call themselves African Americans. And there are some people who call themselves black. There are some people who call themselves niggers. And who is anyone to deny those people the right to define themselves? As I said before, you are who you say you are. So one of the things that we have hoped and wished and talked for black people is a unified identity. I don't think that's going to happen, because we do have people who call themselves nigger. We do have people who call themselves African American. We do have people who call themselves black, Negro. We have people who deny any of that, will say that they're a vegan. They identify themselves as vegans. We have people, vegans or vegans. We have people who identify themselves as Christians. We have people who identify themselves as Muslims. We have multiple personalities in some people, multiple identities in some people. So there's hope for, you know, this universal identity of black people to, you know, at least acknowledge their African ancestry. I don't think that's going to ever happen, you know, even though we are of African descent. And that's why I identify myself as a woman of African descent. And I be specific when I say African descent, because I don't know exactly where my ancestors came from on the continent. However, I do know that they came from that continent, and I can identify with the people on that continent because I can look in various places on that continent and see people who look like me. Now, I can't do that in Europe, and I can't do that in Asia, and all those other places, but I can definitely do that on the continent that is called Africa. So that is how I identify myself, because I refuse to be today identified by anyone else, and I take on that identity. So I have identified myself as a woman of African descent, and that's good enough for me, because I know people who have to actually know where they come from, and they will spend money to get a little swab in their mouth and send it somewhere to some people they don't know who call themselves geneticists or whatever. And these geneticists say that they match your swab up with somebody else's, and lo and behold, that's where your ancestors come from. Now, you can believe that if you want to. That's up to you. I just don't. Okay? I wouldn't believe it. And I find that people who want to believe it really do need to be attached. They need to have that for validation of who they are. And see, like I said, I think you are who you say you are. People reinvent themselves every day. So you are who you say you are. It's kind of like a murderer. You know, a person who goes to jail for murder or stealing or selling drugs or whatever. And when they get out of jail, they're reformed. They don't do it anymore. They make over their lives and turn over a new leaf and become someone else. Not a murderer, not a thief, not a liar. Or if you're a drug addict, you know, and you've been to the treatment center and you finally made up your mind that you don't want to be a drug addict anymore, why would you go to an AA meeting and constantly say that you're a recovering addict? That you're an addict. I'm an addict. I'm an addict. You know, they don't even encourage you to say you're a recovering addict. They just keep on telling you to say that you're an addict. That's reinforcing the negative behavior. Why would you do that? But people do that. You know, and they say that so they'll never forget who, you know, where they come from. And I'm like, well, you ain't got to keep stating what you did, you know, as to fortify who you are right now. You know what I'm saying? That's what I don't understand about that 12-step program like that, where you saying, I'm an addict, I'm an addict. You ain't took a drink in 15, 20 years, but you still standing up there talking about you an addict. Guess what? I done seen them do it 20 years, and Lord knows they fall off the damn wagon at some point because they keep saying it. You got to stop saying it. Once you change your life, you just change your life, and you don't be that anymore. You don't have to keep saying it. So anyway, that's why I'm talking about identity. You are who you say you are. And if you declare who you are, can't nobody tell you you're not that. Okay? And, you know, and that's basically it. And also, what about your self-image? How do you feel about yourself? You know, because a lot of times our identities have been given to us through you know, various methodologies like media and, you know, magazines and saying how we should be and stuff like that. You know, and you define yourself. See, that's the thing. You know what? I'm going to tell y'all something. I was thinking about Kemet. You know, they say Kemet meant the land of the blacks. Now, I wouldn't think that the people in Kemet called it the land of the blacks. I would say people who weren't black coming to the land of the blacks would call it the land of the blacks. All right? What they called themselves were possibly similar to what Nigerians called themselves, Nigerian. Or what Ghanaians or people from Tanzania, or they called themselves by their country their group, or country, or ethnic group, or whatever. But they just say they're Africans as a given. They don't declare that they're an African. That's just a given for them. But black people have to consciously say that they're of African descent. And unless you get that swab and you believe it, then you can probably align yourself with some country that you believe you're from. But for the rest of us, we're of African descent. We do know that, okay? So I keep it simple. I'm a woman of African descent. I keep that simple. And my self-identity is off the chain. You know, my you know, how I look at myself, what I think of myself, my self-image, that I had to definitely work on, but I finally got it. And I'm at a point right now where I really, you know, what other people think, I do care. Now, don't get me wrong, because I done said this before, too. Don't get me wrong. I do care what people think, all right? But I don't care to a point where I'm spazzing about it, okay? So, you know, I just encourage everybody to think about identity. What do you want to call yourself? And self-image. How do you see yourself? Okay, because that's very important. That's very important, how you see yourself. Okay, because you can take other people's imagery and put it off on yourself, and you'll never live up to that. But if you create your own identity, your own self-image, you'll be so much happier. You will not be trying to get blue eyes in a brown-eyed head, okay? Or, you know, just a lot of things, or getting your nose changed. You'll be happy with your face. You'll be happy with your body. You'll be happy with who you are. And as you constantly work on yourself to be a better human being. And I think understanding what it is to be a better human being is worth contemplation. Because I think we can all strive to be better. So that's the direction that I'm going in. I'm heading for perfection. That's where I'm going. And I think a lot of times it's what you put in your brain every day that kind of, like, I would say, it influences you. If you're a weak kind of, and I don't want to say weak because a lot of us are, not many of us are very, very strong unless we are consciously doing it, because subliminal messages are real. So, you know, if you're constantly thinking and watching what you read, what you say, who you listen to, you know, you kind of you can filter out the negativity that finds itself seated in your subconscious. So, you know, you, as I said before, are the captain of your ship. You create who you are. You formulate your identity. You create your self-image for yourself. Don't allow, in all those old messages that you've had from a child, you have to erase those, examine them, first examine them, then erase them and replace them. You just can't leave an empty spot. Remember, the universe abhors vacuum. So you have to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts about yourself. And those can be of your creation. You do not have to look to anyone else to create a positive image of yourself for you. Okay? That's what I wanted to talk about today. And that is identity and self-image. These are things that you have the power to change about yourself. So with that said, this is Queen Ifama. I am the Truth Terrorist. Thanks for listening. Peace, everybody.
Peace and blessings, YouTube. I just wanted to weigh in on this issue about the transatlantic slave trade and the trading of black people by black people. Africans. Did Africans trade black people? Yes. Hell yes. And for those of us who are so sensitive and don't want to believe that. I mean, you just can't bring yourself to believe it, because I don't know why, but you know, we got these romantic ideas that, you know, black people were so dumb and stupid that they would just allow some white people to come all up into their camp and just take it over with, you know, just with ease and shit, just because they got guns. No, it didn't work like that. Them Peckerwoods could not come up in there without coming to see the head man. Okay? The head people. They couldn't do it. The society wasn't even set up like that. So what happened was, these people, these other Africans, saw that, you know, because they were having their problems with other African village, other African people. You know, they had wars and stuff like that. I mean, and human beings been doing that since the beginning of time. But, you know, they had wars and stuff, and so, of course, they were, you know, taking on captives, trading captives with the Arabs, and, you know, incorporating them into their family life. You know, sometimes, as a matter of fact, sometimes slaves became part of the family. I mean, but one thing about that instance of trade is that the African who was enslaved was not stripped of his language. He was not stripped of his culture, because he was still within the culture of African people, which have similarities all across the board. So that's why that slave trade, it differs on the African coast than it does in the Americas, because for that very reason is that you didn't totally dehumanize the African person, even though they were in bondage. They weren't, from what I've read. Now, I wasn't there, but I think I've read enough documentation that supports each other, you know, independent of each other, to come to the conclusion that what was written was pretty accurate. So, you know, these Africans who were basically from the beginning had their own, problems with some neighbors. When the Europeans come with this superior weaponry, which is guns and stuff like that, and and now, you know, because they having these difficulties with other people, the availability of something to overpower their enemy or protect themselves from their enemy was very invitive. I mean, wouldn't you? You know what I'm saying? So, and not only that, if you had to do it before your enemy got it. You know what I'm saying? Before your enemy bought it. Even though the final analysis is, you know, them Peckerwoods was trading with everybody when it came to the enslaved Africans and the trading off of the guns and stuff. You know, they was trading everybody. So they was fighting with each other with guns and, you know, breaking off, going off into the interior, bringing African people out. I mean, that's how the slave trade progressed. That's what it progressed into, was that type of activity. I mean, it increased not only on the part of the European, but on the part of the African too. He had to step it up because he had competition from other nations. You know what I'm saying? Other nations. And I don't know if I'm using the right term when I say nations, but, you know, other African groups, other African tribes, other African people, they, you know, they were in competition with these people. I'm trying to straighten out my necklace. I made that. You know, I'm a jewelry designer. But anyway, just thought I'd put that plug in there. But anyway, so, you know, they began to step up on the trade. It was business. Not only that, not only the chiefs aside, you even had individual Africans who went into independent trade to be independent trade merchants, who had literal bands that would go into the interior. I mean, these were individual businessmen. They got them by name. Individual African traders who traded other African people, who went up in the interior and got them and brought them back out. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's not far-fetched to believe that African people, black people, had something to do with the enslavement of black people. I mean, it just makes sense. And I don't get mad because somebody say black people sold black people. I'm like, okay, that was business. You know what I'm saying? And white people sold white people. Chinese people sell Chinese people. I mean, this is how it goes. You know what I mean? So I don't get all bad and feel all sad and want to get defensive and want to absolve African people from their complicity into the enslavement of all of us who came from those enslaved people. You think that I'm gonna give them a pass? No, I am not. It was business for them just like it was business for the European. Okay? And they didn't give a damn about us being black. That's what I'm trying to tell you, and hoping you get it, those of you who get a little attitude about this subject matter. You know, that's basically, you know, how it goes. I mean, that's common sense. That's why I do these common sense things, because some things are just common sense. You know, I mean, if you a male or a female or whatever, you got a house, apartment, a hut, or whatever, wherever you live in. But I know damn well that you're not going to let someone just come all up in your shit and start running it. I know you're not. They're going to have to smooth their way in or slick their way in or whatever, because you go smite them off as soon as they cross the threshold. Come charging up in there talking that shit. Okay? So you can correlate that with the Africans on the coastal lines up in there and just a little bit further into the interior. So you can correlate that with that and put two and two together. I mean, it just don't make sense. What you think black people punks like that? No, they ain't punks like that. They bad as any other person, any other group of people, given the resources. You know, they just as deadly, just as devilish, just as wicked, some of them, just like everybody else. Okay? And when it's business, it's business. Okay, and when it's hatred, it's hatred. I mean, that's how they roll. It's just sad that they didn't hate the European bad enough, you know what I'm saying, to just keep that trade on the inner side, on the inner part, you know, in Africa. Didn't let that shit expand no damn where. They just traded amongst each other, black people, black passing them back and forth and shit, paying off debt or whatever. You know, the sad part is that they went into business with white folk. That's the sad part. And then another thing I want to throw out here is, oh God, I kind of slipped my mind, so maybe I do it another time. But anyway, you know, so yeah, African people sold African people. Get over it. Just know that they did it, okay? And no African people selling out African people right now, right here in America. You got black folks selling your ass out right now. You know it. You know it. You know it. So, you know, we just got to keep it real, people, and quit fantasizing. Fantasizing like, you know, black people don't do shit. We do shit like everybody else. That's why black people was the ones who created mod and all that shit. Because they knew they need some regulation. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just makes sense to me, folks. I mean, it's not rocket science. That's all I'm saying. It's not rocket science. Life is very simple, and the people who live it is simple. You know what I'm saying? If you just can read them good enough, each and every one of us. So anyway, so that's my little take on. That's my little take on, did Africans sell Africans? Hell yeah, they sold Africans, and they still selling you. So anyway, this is Queen Ifama. I'm the Truth Terrorist. I hope you got something out of that, because I always do.
Peace forever and always. Welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth. Your host is His Divine Masculine Brother AdMinister Taalik Ibn'rad,